Namaskar. I'm grateful to the High Commission of India in South Africa for giving me this precious opportunity to present a talk on the occasion of Pravasi Bharatiya Divas. Mahatma Gandhi was the greatest Pravasi that India ever had. This year marks 111 years since his return to India on 9 January 1915 after leaving the shores of South Africa on 18 July 1914. By then, he had already spent 20 years of his life there, led successful satyagrahas, and after acquiring the highest legal education along with much other learning. During those years, he set aside aspirations of becoming a successful barrister for his own sake and moved towards becoming an advocate for society. This period became one of unprecedented sadhana for him. Mahatma Gandhi sailed from Mumbai to Durban on 24th April 1893 and arrived about a month later on 24th May after accepting a 1 year contract for £105 from a wealthy merchant, Dada Abdullah, who was then engaged in a major legal dispute with his cousin. Both men were from Surat, Gujarat. Barrister Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi had planned to stay only a year before returning to build his practice, but the trip proved pivotal. He soon encountered racial prejudice in the Durban court, and when a magistrate ordered him to remove his turban in court, he refused and walked out of the court rather than accept humiliation. He soon saw that almost all the Indians in South Africa were laborers or girmitias. Most of the girmitias were Telugu and Tamil speaking labor from the Madras province and Hindi and Bhojpuri speakers from Bihar and the United Province, who faced widespread racial contempt regardless of education or religion. Whites dismissed them as coolies, even deriding professionals as coolie barristers or coolie doctors. Gandhiji's life and the world around him saw fundamental transformations during the 2 decades he spent in South Africa. These were years of intense turmoil, both in his personal life and in his professional life. Dada Abdullah recognized Gandhiji's deep respect and religious nature, but hesitated to send the Western clad barrister to Pretoria. The defendant, Tayyab Haji Khan Muhammad, was Dada Abdullah's shrewd cousin. Dada Abdullah feared Gandhiji might be influenced, but Gandhiji promised to keep confidences and try to settle the matter out of court. He had prepared meticulously, learning bookkeeping and studying the Gujarati case details, and within a week said he was ready to go to Pretoria. Dada Abdullah bought a first class ticket and offered bedding, which Gandhiji declined to spare his client the extra expense. The 6 hour train from Durban to Pietermaritzburg arrived late that evening. When two railway officials ordered Gandhiji to move to the van compartment, he produced his first class ticket and insisted on staying. But officials called the police, who seized him by his hands and threw him on the platform along with his luggage. Shocked and without his overcoat, he spent the night shivering in the tiled waiting room at Pietermaritzburg, which lies about 2,200 feet above sea level. Kept awake by thoughts of trials and insults that lay ahead, not just for him, but for the vast Indian community, Gandhiji resolved not to return until the case was settled. He vowed not to endure humiliation silently, but to root out the deep disease of racial prejudice, accepting whatever hardships that required. After reaching Pretoria, he found reasons to believe not all humans were cruel. Years later, he told American missionary Dr. John Mott, as recorded by his secretary Pyarelal Nair, that the inner struggle he experienced while shivering at Pietermaritzburg was the most creative moment of his life, adding, and I quote, "My active nonviolence began from that date." Unquote. The seeds of Satyagraha were sown in 1893 on June 6. The journey from Durban to Pretoria transformed Gandhiji. At about 24, he organized his first public meeting in Pretoria, in which 30 to 40 Indian merchants attended and quickly became known among the largely Maiman Indian community. His fear of public speaking vanished. He spoke with confidence and deep insight into the problems Indians faced. He organized regular meetings, weekly or monthly, though irregularly, and soon knew most of Pretoria's Indian community and some English officers. He challenged railway discrimination, prompting a reply that well dressed Indians could be issued higher class tickets, albeit at the station master's discretion. During his stay, he also completed his first book, a 112 foolscap handwritten monograph in English for first time travelers to England, complete with an index. As he reached Durban after a year, his fame had spread there as well. He had brought about reconciliation and rapprochement between two of the biggest Indian merchants. For the Indians in South Africa, Barrister Gandhi became Gandhi Bhai. Over 20 years of practice in South Africa, he embraced reconciliation and arbitration, saving clients court expenses and bringing disputing parties together. On returning to India, he applied the same approach to mill owners and workers' dispute, a historic step that reshaped relations between labor and owners in the earlier years. Dada Abdullah arranged a lavish farewell for Gandhi Bhai, offering the contracted £105 plus an additional purse to honor the barrister who had protected his interest. His earlier doubts about Gandhiji had long since vanished. When praise for Gandhi Bhai was rising, Gandhi Bhai's eyes caught a newspaper item titled Indian Franchise about a bill before the Natal legislature that would strip Indians of the right to elect representatives. Realizing this was the first step towards driving Indians out of South Africa, he agreed to lead the community's resistance. They pledged to cover campaign expenses even though Gandhiji would not accept payment for public work. Then and there, he established the Indian Natal Congress and agreed to be the secretary. From 24th June 1894, his private convictions took on a public dimension. His energy became the community's strength, and the leader within him emerged polite, industrious, self sacrificing, leading by example, and careful in strategy. Gandhiji refined petitions as he founded the Natal Indian Congress to do so, turning a lone struggle into a community movement. From 1906 to 1914, he led major satyagrahas against discriminatory laws, including the Asiatic Registration Act and the £3 poll tax, and later, when Kasturba Gandhi led the Women's March, that forced negotiations and reforms too. She was the first woman satyagrahi in South Africa. Through arrests and attacks, he forged satyagraha into a powerful tool and discovered the sole force in communal love and truth. Gandhiji's years as a lawyer in South Africa built his reputation for uncompromising honesty. He refused cases based on falsehood, excused himself if clients lied, and often secured respect from judges and opponents. He lived by his words, and I quote, "In my heart of hearts, I always wished that I should win only if my client's case was right." Unquote. He charged minimal fees, never billed poor indentured laborers, and preferred out of court settlements, explaining, and I quote, "I had learned the true practice of law. The true function of a lawyer was to unite parties driven apart." Unquote. Gandhiji's life fused self purification with social revolution. In South Africa, he simplified his needs, deepened his discipline, and through 2 decades of his sustained sadhana, developed satyagraha, a new moral and political path. His conscience shifted away from self gratification. He endured hardships with equanimity, helped others recover, and led by example. Embracing truth, nonviolence, strict discipline, hard physical labor, and constant self examination, he proved that conduct matters more than preaching and that personal transformation can drive social change. Gandhiji's legacy to South Africa was a method of fighting injustice non-violently by love force, truth force, and soul force through self-sacrifice and suffering. He sowed the seeds of dignity and self-confidence, showing that even apparently weaker sections could fight the might of governments. After a generation, that seed emerged from the ground in the form of passive resistance against the apartheid regime. Many years later, South African Archbishop Desmond Tutu, Nobel Peace Prize laureate of 1984, who was inspired by Mahatma Gandhi, talked about soul force and said, and I quote, Mahatma Gandhi, what a wonderful man. In the sentiment of Mahatma Gandhi, when we practice the law of an eye for an eye, we all end up blind. Unquote. By 1897, Gandhiji had settled in a prestigious Durban neighborhood with his family and, though prosperous at 36, chose a life of truth and service over luxury. By 1897, Gandhiji had settled in a prestigious Durban neighborhood with his family and, though prosperous at 36, chose a life of truth and service over luxury. When a leprosy sufferer came to him, he tended the man's wounds, arranged hospital care, and resolved to serve the sick. He persuaded a friend to fund a small hospital and dispensary for Indians and spent 2 hours daily nursing patients and dispensing medicines. This hands on work taught him nursing, brought him close to the poor, and later proved invaluable during outbreaks and conflicts and in founding India's first nature cure hospital. He also urged the community to improve public sanitation and hygiene, responding to legitimate criticisms and strengthening communal dignity. Years later, Nelson Mandela articulated Gandhiji's enormous influence on leaders across the world and famously said, and I quote, the Mahatma is an integral part of our history because it is here that he first experimented with truth, here that he developed satyagraha as a philosophy and a method of struggle. In a world driven by violence and strife, Gandhi's message of peace and nonviolence holds the key to human survival in the 21st century. Unquote. Gandhiji established two ashrams, namely Phoenix Settlement and Tolstoy Farm, to experiment with community living through a nonviolent face to face society. It was to take many more years and much effort before the Girmit system was abolished in South Africa. Gandhiji had written, and I quote, as soon as I had a house of my own, my house was an ashram in this sense, for my life as a householder was not one of enjoyment, but of duty discharged from day to day. Unquote. Before Gandhiji left South Africa in 1914, he was given many farewells attended by Hindus, Muslims, and Europeans alike. The white newspapers and leaders who had opposed him for many years were now full of praise for him. General Smuts was relieved when Gandhiji leaving his shores. He said, and I quote, the saint has left our shores, I hope forever. When Gandhiji returned to India in 1915, after spending 20 years in South Africa, he was a widely known revolutionary and a political organizer who had evolved his unique philosophy and technique of satyagraha or non-violent resistance to all forms of injustice. He was already being seen as a saint in politics, a Mahatma. In 1909 itself, Henry Pollock, the British born Jew and Gandhiji's close associate, had written in the biography of Gandhiji, and I quote, perhaps in this generation, India has not produced such a noble man, saint, patriot, statesman in one. Unquote. Once again, I wish to convey my gratitude to the High Commission of India in South Africa for graciously hosting today's talk, and to all of you for your presence. Namaskar.